This is Nerd Hat.
This is Nerd Hat.
This is Nerd Hat.
Nerd Hatters, we are here. It is William and I. Laura is on sabbatical, so to speak. She's taken another week off from the podcast, just a lot going on. So Will and I are jumping back in. So we're not going to do our normal battle episode. We will eventually, I hope. Fingers crossed, we'll eventually get back to that format, which I've really enjoyed this season. We've done about, 6 or 7 episodes in that format so far. So go check back with some of our old ones while you're waiting. I'm sure you're just eagerly waiting for us to get back to the new format.
Hey, Nerd Hatters, I'm Internet Explorer today. I have migraine. Sorry.
Yeah, poor Will. One of these days, I hope they find a cure for migraines, my friend. I hope.
Well,
yeah.
You on Spangler and drill a hole through my head.
Oh, no, don't do that.
It would have worked if you didn't stop me. Okay.
Reveal the pressure. Under pressure. All right. Well, so we're not doing our normal battle episode. But we are going to cover a movie. So as we mentioned on our Instagram story last night, we are covering the film Bad Shabbos. Had it not been for Aperture Cinema choosing this for their round of films in May, I don't know if I would have heard about it. I could be wrong about that.
Or been able to watch it.
Yeah, that's another possibility as well. I have a feeling it's the type of film that, although I could be wrong, it might go to wide release. I don't know how wide. I don't know if it'll make it to the other theaters here in town. But it did make it to Aperture. And this film won an award at the Tribeca Film Festival in New York. I think Best Narrative Feature, or Best Narrative. So that's pretty good. That's pretty impressive. So congratulations to the filmmakers of Bad Shabbos. So what is this about? According to IMDb, the logline is an engaged interfaith couple are about to have their parents meet for the first time over a Shabbat dinner, or Shabbos, when an accidental death gets in the way.
Yes.
Director? The director is Daniel Robbins. He's relatively young, relatively inexperienced in terms of overall directing credits, but he's known for this movie, Pledge, and Citizen Viner, or Wiener. I don't know how you pronounce this. Probably Viner, but either way, I'm wrong. The writers are Daniel Robbins and Zach. I know I'm going to say this wrong. I'm sorry, Zach. It's either Viner, which would be, I guess, more German pronunciation, or
looking for it.
Weiner or Wiener. I'm not sure which. I apologize. It's Weiner. I know I'm saying it wrong.
I guess it's Weiner. I don't know.
I prefer Weiner, but Weiner. I guess Weiner works. Weiner. That sounds bad too. So
I didn't know.
Honestly, I don't know.
They don't?
Again, apologies to Zach if you happen to be listening to this. This film absolutely has an ensemble cast here. So I'm going to go through this because each person is important. Honestly, this genuinely is an ensemble cast. Yes, there's some protagonists, you might say, but it really is an ensemble cast. Milana Weintraub plays Abby. Kira Cedric plays Ellen. Ashley Zuckerman plays Benjamin. David Paymer plays Richard. Method Man shows up as Jordan, Josh Mostel as Saul, John Bass as David, John Bedford Lloyd as John, Catherine Curtin as Beth, Megan Leathers as Meg, Theo Taplitz as Adam, and there's a few other smaller roles that don't show up as much. But the primary cast we have primary characters are Adam, Meg, David, Jordan, Richard, Ellen, and Abby. And then later on, Meg's parents, Beth and John, make an appearance in the film. But it really, really is an ensemble cast, and everybody did a good job, I think. Before we get into the film proper, I thought I'd read just a little spoiler-free review that I wrote up last night right after we saw the film at Aperture. And this is on Letterboxd, by the way. I will not tell you in the podcast what our rating is until the end, in case you're just listening right now. Obviously, you are listening. But if you want to go over and check that out on Letterboxd, and if you have an account there, give me a like as well. I'm trying to build up a reputation there as a reviewer of films. Anyway, Bad Shabbos was a delightful surprise. It speedwalks a classic Meet the In-Laws storyline down some hilarious hallways. As if an impending interfaith marriage didn't provide enough ingredients for comedy, throw in, no pun intended, well, maybe a little intended, an accidental manslaughter, and we're off to the races. In between the numerous laughs, we get meaningful moments with each of the characters. Their relationships felt real, even in the midst of the fast-paced, crazy events that unfold over the course of the night. I really enjoy this film. The performances are stellar, the directing and editing precise, and the cinematography appropriately intimate. I also enjoyed the jazz-infused score, which set just the right tone. So those were my initial, basically out of the theater thoughts. Will, feel free to share your spoiler-free out of the theater thoughts here. Or what were your just early impressions as you walked out of the theater?
I'm sorry, I had a message. Well, here's the thing. It started a little slow, and it was not the normal comedy that I'm used to, but it had my respect by the end of the film. I really loved it. Of course, I love the Jewish people. I'm always very interested in, I just find them, the Jewish people and their faith very interesting. I really do. But anyway, it was a really funny movie. It just got worse and worse in a good way as the movie continues.
Yeah, the situation got worse.
Yeah.
More and more complicated.
Yeah, so it went from, where's this going? It's a little slow to, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my god.
Help!
Yeah, I liked it.
Me too. We both enjoyed the film. And before we get more into our spoiler-filled thoughts and remarks, I thought it'd be useful for those who are not as familiar with the Jewish faith and its traditions that we talk a little bit about Shabbat, or Shabbos, as the film calls it. Will is going to read for us an entry off ye old Wikipedia on Shabbat.
How dare y'all not know about Shabbat? I'm kidding. So it means rest or cessation. It's also called the Sabbath or Shabbos. Shabbos? I'm not sure.
Shabbos is how they said it in the film, so we can just go with that. Shabbos.
That is the pronunciation by the Ashkenazim.
Ashkenazim?
Yeah, you mentioned it earlier, but I haven't studied that yet. It's Judaism's day of rest. Judaism's, what did I say? Day of rest on the seventh day of the week, Friday through Saturday. On this day, religious Jews remember the biblical stories describing the creation of the heaven and earth in 6 days and the redemption from slavery and the exodus from Egypt. Since the Jewish religious calendar counts days from sunset to sunset, Shabbat begins in the evening of what on the civil calendar is Friday. Shabbat observance entails refraining from work activities, often with great rigor, and engaging in restful activities to honor the day. Judaism's traditional position is that the unbroken seventh-day Shabbat originated among the Jewish people as their first and most sacred institution. Variations upon Shabbat are widespread in Judaism and with adaptations throughout the Abrahamic and many other religions. According to Halakha, Jewish religious law, Shabbat is observed from a few minutes before the sun sets on Friday evening until the appearance of 3 stars in the sky on Saturday night, or an hour after sundown. Shabbat is ushered in by lighting candles and reciting blessings over wine and bread. Traditionally, 3 festive meals are eaten. The first one is held on Friday evening, the second is traditionally a lunch meal on Saturday, and the third is held later Saturday afternoon. The evening meal and the early afternoon meal typically begin with a blessing called Kiddush, sanctification. That word was mentioned in the film, Kiddush. It said over a cup of wine. Yeah. At the third meal, a Kiddush is not performed. What? Well, maybe there was artistic liberty, because I'm pretty sure they're eating the third meal in the film, but oh well. But the Hamatzi blessing is recited, and challah, braided bread, is eaten. Definitely had some braided bread.
I think that's challah.
Huh? Challah?
Either challah or challah, maybe.
You're right, because... You're right. Hanukkah sometimes is spelled with CH. You're right. Challah. In many,
I think.
You're probably right.
Correct us if we're wrong.
In many communities, this meal is often eaten in the period after the afternoon prayers. Mincha. Minha? How would you say that?
Mincha, maybe.
Are recited, and shortly before Shabbat is formally ended with a Havdalah ritual. Shabbat is a festive day when Jews exercise their freedom from the regular labors of everyday life. It offers an opportunity to contemplate the spiritual aspects of life and to spend time with family. The end of Shabbat is traditionally marked by a ritual called Havdalah, during which blessings are said over wine or grape juice, aromatic spices, and Havdalah candle lighting, separating Shabbat from the rest of the week.
It might be Havdalah.
Havdalah?
I know in Hebrew, right. The emphasis is on the last syllable typically, I think. At least ancient Hebrew. I did take some ancient Hebrew in college. Yeah. But it is different, I'm sure, from modern Hebrew. Well, so that definitely, honestly, the film centers around, and I didn't catch, Will, you said you thought it was the third meal, which would mean it was Saturday night. I did not catch that on, it must have been because the characters got upset, like the mom in particular got upset about her daughter driving, because you're not supposed to drive on the Sabbath. So you're probably right. It probably was the Saturday meal.
And they were talking about getting together with the future in-laws over Sunday brunch the next day.
That's right. You're right. So yes, this was the third meal. Okay. So the setting, as we talked about in the tagline, you have this engaged interfaith couple, David and Meg. So Meg is a Catholic who is in the process of converting to Judaism in order to, I don't know if that was put up as a requirement by the family, but it's definitely something she's choosing to do to make the transition into his family easier. And we get a glimpse later in the film at just her frustration with just how much she's had to do from her perspective to fit in to David's family. Whereas from her perspective, again, he didn't have to do much of anything to fit or be accepted in hers. And I don't know how typical that is of Jewish families, or observing Jewish families. I can't speak to that because I'm not Jewish.
I have a friend who is Jewish. He married a Gentile girl, and she converted to Judaism. So I think it's fairly normal.
Well, I know anytime you have an interfaith marriage, particularly when it's one thing if even if you have a Catholic and a Baptist, you're technically both Christians, but it's different branches of Christianity, so that can create tensions.
Yeah.
But more so, obviously, if you get to something like Judaism versus Catholicism, or just imagine Judaism and Islam, for instance. I mean, that would be even harder, I would imagine. But there's always tensions. But any good comedy likes to mine that potential tension and conflict for humor, and this film is no exception. It definitely takes full advantage of some of the potential disagreements, but then it throws in a wrench. You might think, okay, well, that's where the comedy is going to come from.
That's what we thought.
But that's almost it's still important, but it's almost like a B plot to the A plot, because accidental manslaughter occurs in the middle of this attempted Shabbat dinner.
It was sugar.
That's pretty serious though. This is apparently the first time that the parents of the engaged couple are meeting one another. So to choose to do that over Shabbat, I guess, as an introduction to the religious element of the relationship, but that also, I imagine that ramped the tension up a little more as well, kind of highlighting the differences. So again, that is fodder for comedy. And that definitely, once the other future in-laws show up, the Catholics, that definitely proves to be the case.
Yes, I zoned out. I'm here now. I went into another dimension.
So I have a little bit of expectation coming in. As I looked up, I saw that it was getting positive reviews thus far, most of which must have been from the Tribeca Film Festival and maybe a couple of other festivals. This did not show up at River Run, but it is kind of the type of film that River Run would have from year to year. But this year, it didn't make it. This particular film did not get selected, or maybe they didn't apply either, however that process works. But it did do well at Tribeca, and it was made in New York, so it makes sense that they would try to get in Tribeca first.
That was a glitch. I'm Cavella about this movie.
That's a pretty big deal, though.
I have a list of Yiddish words up, Richard. I'm going to use these.
Oh, do you? Oh, okay. Nice.
But I pick.
So what do you think of the cast of the film? There's some recognizable faces there, but probably some neither of us probably had seen before.
Well, I really liked them. I mean, obviously, we recognize that woman from the auto insurance commercials or whatever they were, and
no, AT&T.
AT&T. I'm sorry, you're right.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I don't know. I've seen so many commercials. Forgive me. But yeah, absolutely. I'm glad she gets to shine in this film instead of just sell AT&T. So that's good.
Yeah, no, she did a really good job.
Yeah, absolutely.
She was funny, and had some
actors list.
Some really nice heartfelt moments as well. Kevin Bacon's wife is in this film.
Really?
Kira Sedgwick. Yeah, Kira Sedgwick. She plays the mother Ellen.
Really?
David's mother Ellen.
I didn't know that. Kevin Bacon's wife?
Yeah. Kevin Bacon's wife, yeah. They've been married a long time, too. I want to say at least 20 years or maybe more.
Oh, there it is. Kira Sedgwick.
Mm-hmm.
Huh. Anyway, I really loved the movie. The David character actually reminded me of my old Jewish friend. But anyway, honestly, I mean, Method Man was very charismatic in the film. He was a delight as well. I don't want to take away from the rest of the cast, though, by saying that I liked Theo Taplet's character, Adam. He seemed a little weird in the beginning, but you come to like him throughout the film.
Yeah, well, he's very, very uptight. At the beginning, and something, I mean, this is true across many families, but you get the feeling that maybe he feels like he's under a lot of pressure to perform in the family, to live up to his older siblings. And he does reveal something later in the film that he has kind of been feigning interest on, just so it seems like he's doing something important. And but yeah, he makes a mistake, a prank gone too far. That is the catalyst for the craziness of the film. And I mean, obviously, we know there's an accidental manslaughter, but until you see the film, you don't know who is the cause of it. So yes, from this point on, spoiler warning. So Theo clashes with his sister's boyfriend. So his sister Abby's boyfriend, Benjamin, is an asshole. The dude, and they portray him as that. He is an asshole.
He is not a bitch.
Yeah, like Abby's planning to break up with him and just couldn't bring herself to it. She says later to admit that everyone was right about the guy. So you get the impression no one in the family likes him. Although Method Man, aka Jordan, his character Jordan, for some reason, oh no, I know what I'm saying. He loves Richie, which he calls Richard, the father. Yeah. Like he loves Richie. He never says anything about Benjamin, so maybe he'd never met him. But yeah, Method Man, his character Jordan, loves David Payment's character Richard, and they get along. And then there's some humor in that too, because like David tries to, they can meet earlier, and like Jordan is trying to talk like a Jewish man, and Richard is trying to talk like a black man, and they're trying to both. It's kind of cute and funny. But and Method Man is huge.
Yeah,
Jordan, his character Jordan, he's huge, and David Payment's character Richard is diminutive by comparison. I don't know how tall Method Man is, but he's got to be like 6'3" or 6'4". He looked very large, and that's true even if the other men in the film are relatively short. Like he's just huge. But yeah, I really liked the relationship between David and Meg. It felt real. You get the sense the characters did a good job of portraying just mutual love. This is a couple that loves one another. They're committed to working through any differences. You get the sense that maybe neither one of them took their religion super seriously. You get the sense it was a little more important to David, and that Meg wasn't, as at least her mother claims, that that she was not as serious about her Catholicism, which kind of hurts Meg's feelings. It's brought up during, and that's where, and this did feel like something an older white Christian couple would do. There's a little bit of passive aggressive jabs in there of like their feelings about the changes that are happening in their family come out a bit passive aggressively over family dinner. That felt familiar.
Oh.
That poor Meg, she's kind of aghast. Like, Mom, why would you say that? She just you see it on her face. Like, why would you say that?
Truth be told, I was raised secular. The only thing we talked about at the table is how awful my dad's workday was, and when I got older, politics.
Yeah,
but go ahead. I wouldn't know.
They don't. That is one thing they don't get into here. They don't get into politics. At least not that I noticed.
You're right.
I think the closest might be Theo or Adam's interest in being in the IDF, which is politics adjacent, the Israeli Defense Force. But we find out later that he isn't actually going to do that. It's just he wanted to feel like he had something important going on in his life too. But again, getting back to his relationship with character Benjamin, they don't like one another. Benjamin is just he likes pushing people's buttons, and even though he's been asked by David, please don't start a fight with Adam, and David also asked Adam not to start a fight with Benjamin, and both of them claim that they never start the fight. So he's like, I do not start the fight. But then inevitably they both get into a fight, and Adam has an opportunity to get back at Benjamin. So he slips him 3 laxative pills. He crushes them up and slips it into Benjamin's drink.
For me, that was the part of the film where my kind of comedy was starting to show up.
There you go.
Not knowing what would happen next.
Well, we get a glimpse, like prior to him putting it in the drink. There's a kind of almost a throwaway line from Abby that lets you know that Benjamin already has digestive issues, but they don't say what it is specifically. Just like he's had to give up cheese because when he blows up the bathroom, it's like horrible. And she's like, yeah, not as long as you're in my house. Like, you won't ever eat cheese again. And we find out after he's been slipped the laxative pills, Adam finds out that Benjamin has colitis, which is actually ulcerative colitis is a fairly serious problem, and you can die from it, from what I understand. Like it's fairly serious. So Adam, as soon as he learns that, he starts freaking out. He's like, oh no, like, did I give him a reaction? Like, is he okay? Has he passed out? So Adam runs back to the restroom to check on poor Benjamin. And of course, we, the audience, know by this point that Benjamin, in his haste to get to the toilet,
Yeah.
Slips on a rug and hits his head hard enough on the sink that he's probably dead. And then
he's toast.
He's toast. Yeah. Then things just ramp up from there. What did you think of the scene between David and Adam? When Adam, like, just the back and forth as Adam's like, "Hey, David,
it was hilarious.
Can I talk to you?"
Hilarious. Hilarious brothership interaction.
No, I loved how, like, Adam comes and gets David, and then David is like, I mean, as much as you can get deathly pale, he's like traumatized face, and he comes back to get his sister. It's like Abby. But no. Wait, does he? Yeah, that's right. They decide to tell Abby, I think, right? And then, of course, she gets really angry, even though she was going to break up with Benjamin. She's still like, "You killed my boyfriend!" Like, so you have the siblings there, and eventually the father finds out, and he tries to run and hide in his room and start reading the Torah or the Talmud or something. He's like, "What do we do? What do we do?" He starts praying, and eventually, of course, the mom Ellen finds out, and then things get crazy from there. Like, what's going to happen to Adam? He's going to go to prison. And he's like, and Adam's like, "I can handle the military, I can handle combat, but I cannot handle prison. You know that." They're trying to figure out, what do we do? Do we call 911? Which is what they should have done from the beginning, but they're worried about how it's going to look. Like, does it look like we try to kill him? Like, they're going to find out he has laxatives in his system. I'm the only person in this house that has laxatives. Are they going to think I tried to kill him? Like all this back and forth, and they're trying to figure out what to do. And eventually, Jordan gets pulled in as well, Method Man's character by David, who asks him to delete that night's entire lobby cam video, because at this point they've come up with a plan A, which is to take Benjamin's body and dump it in his apartment and just leave him there to be found by his neighbors. They're like, a New York death. That's how they put it. But yeah, like, it was really good. And David, the actor John Bass, does such a good job in that scene. Just the look of terror on his face as and then Method Man's like, say, "Hey, you should ask me to delete the entire drive." It's like, it looked really suspicious if just one night was gone. And he's not quite sure what he's getting into, and doesn't know, obviously, that Benjamin's dead.
Death. Yeah.
He's like, "No, you. It's like, David's like, "I implied." And I was like, "No." Anyway, I don't want to give away all the jokes and gags from the film, but yeah, just hilarity ensues, and things get ramped up to another level when Meg's parents show up, and they have to try and have a Shabbos dinner with them without revealing what's happened. They have to try and keep Meg's mother out of the kitchen because she keeps wanting to help Ellen, and Ellen's like, no, you can't, because the body is in the kitchen wrapped up in a blanket.
And then Method Man steps in as Black Benjamin. Why are you black? I'm Ethiopian too. I'm sorry, I know that's a spoiler, but I love that part of the film.
Well, we did warn people as spoiler warnings.
Yeah, and it is fairly important for the ending.
Yes, but no, that's true. Yeah, that's true. That does come back around. But he decides to pretend to be Benjamin to try and get the parents, Meg's parents, to try and allay their suspicions.
It's in the middle of the afternoon and we're still tired.
That's true, yeah. Normally we record at night. We're recording during the day this time.
We're tired all the time.
Yeah. Or an ADHD / being an adult. But yeah, we won't give away the final. Well, I guess they kind of give it away at the very beginning. Like, we know at some point that Benjamin's body gets thrown out the window or off a balcony, because at the very beginning of the film, it lands in front of two Jewish men who are going on a walk down the street, telling a joke about a rabbi, and it gets cut off by Benjamin's body hitting the pavement. So we know that's going to happen eventually. We know we're going to get there. We just don't know exactly how we'll get there. So I guess that's not really a spoiler per se.
Well, we didn't know it was Benjamin in the beginning. We figured it out eventually.
True. Yeah, we knew someone. We knew. I knew going in, just reading the tagline. Obviously, they tell you right away, like, someone's going to die. So accidental manslaughter, but you don't know who. No surprise, it's the asshole Benjamin. So they set him up as, it's like, obviously he's still a person, but it's like, you don't feel quite as bad that he's the one that died because he's an asshole.
We're still getting revelations of how terrible a person he was after he died.
Yeah, no, he did some bad stuff, and so you don't feel quite as bad because he doesn't, again, spoiler warning, he doesn't get justice at the end per se. I mean, it was an accident, so he's like, is there justice involved? Like, people kind of covered up the accident, and is that, but you don't feel quite as bad because he's a jerk, and you're like, wait, is that okay that I don't feel as bad? Like maybe that's not okay. But yeah, I really enjoyed this film. I enjoyed just seeing the family dynamics and like what's normally already a stressful situation just being ramped up to another level, and that being played for laughs. And I thought they did a good job pulling that off. Just well acted, written, directed. And and it all pretty much all takes place in one very nice, I'm sure very expensive New York apartment.
That's true.
They never say what the mother and or father do for work, but that would be a very expensive place. Perhaps depending on where in New York it is, but still, something that big in New York is generally not cheap.
I feel like they might have said something about the dad's job, but I can't remember right now. Maybe he was retired or something, or I don't know. Anyway, usually I'm really bored and disappointed with films that only take place in one location, but actually this was a really good film because the writing really saved it. It was great. And, the actors saved it. It was a great film. You can't come out of this movie saying, "Oh, they will never left the apartment." You can't say that. I mean, there were some other set locations, but
couple scenes, like they're out on the street a couple times and in the lobby downstairs a couple times. But majority of the action in the film takes place in that apartment. And the kudos, I don't know if they had a stage set or if it was literally in an apartment or not. That I don't know. If it was literally an apartment, I know from talking to the filmmakers of Battersea, like being in a fixed location like that where you can't open the walls out and things like that can be very challenging from the perspective of the cinematography. And I thought they did a really good job, the lighting and the photography, but also just action. Like it's a very active movie. There's a lot of movement. It's very fast paced. So it doesn't make, like you said, like it doesn't let you get bored, as it were, like even though you're just in this one apartment. And obviously the interpersonal drama, is a huge part of that as well. But the camera movement also contributed very much to the pacing and the action. And they do not remain static. And this is not steady cam type of thing. There's a good bit of handheld. Well, there might be some steady cam involved, but like there's a good bit of movement even in that small space. So I thought they did a good job with that. Well, shall we move on to our ratings?
Never. Yes.
So what would you give this film? How many nerd hats?
7 out of 5.
Okay. 3.7.
Because I have to be weird. I wanted to give it a 4, but I was like, I don't know. I can't give it a 3. That's too low though.
Well, actually, on Letterboxd currently, and it has something like 800 reviews, so a lot of people must have seen it at Tribeca and maybe some other festivals as well.
I mean, I really loved it. I mean, I've seen some worse movies that actually just were released internationally by big companies, but this was really good. It's really good to just watch a normal movie where they're not fighting aliens, no one has superpowers, and it's just real life drama and with comedic twists and things. It was good. I mean, there are a lot of people out there that watch those movies all the time, but me, I'm just, what we review on our podcast.
Yeah, no, I really liked it. It was refreshing as well, and I've enjoyed, I think, going through River Run. Not that I haven't watched independent films, but we haven't covered that many for the podcast. So River Run really gave me a renewed taste for getting into independent cinema, and not just your typical like dramas about death and the like, which a lot of independent films I feel like do deal with that subject. A lot of film does in general, I think it's fair to say, and obviously that's a very serious subject that everyone has to deal with. It's universally applicable, but there's a wider range as well, like comedies. And I really enjoyed it. And I misspoke earlier. There was 330 reviews currently on Letterboxd, which is still a lot. Like this is not hit wide release yet, so a lot of people cared enough to write a review of this. Yeah. It currently sits at 3.6 stars out of 5 on Letterboxd and 7.5 out of 10 on IMDb. Ratings.
Wow, that was pretty close.
Yeah. So you almost nailed just the general consensus. So with my rating, I gave it 4 stars or 4 nerd hats.
Oh, that's right. We're doing nerd hats. I am
4 nerd hats out of 5.
I'm forgetful.
Well, I know on Letterboxd it uses just the normal star rating system, but we got our own thing.
That's right. Will
nerd hats. That's right. So I mean, it's the same basic. It's 5. 5 is like as close to perfect as you can get for a film. And I don't give those ratings out too often. But I gave this one 4 out of 5. And I think that's my cue. It's about time to go. My kids are trying to get my attention. So
falling up the door.
All right. Well, we do have one more episode coming up this month. It's a kind of a bonus episode, and this came out of River Run as well. So we're going to have Joshua and his sister Eat, who co-directed the short film Mooncat, which premiered right before Battersea. It was the second night of the festival. So my sister Sandra and I got to see Mooncat. Did not get to meet the filmmakers at that point, but we did meet them, or I did. I met them, and along with Will.
Yes.
And later at the filmmaker party towards the end of the festival. So we've connected now on Instagram, and they're going to be sitting down with me tomorrow night to record an interview, and that'll release next Wednesday.
Nice.
On the 28th. And that's that. Well, actually, River Run's kind of the gift that keeps on giving. I mean, who knows how many other filmmakers we may talk to over time. But in terms of the initial round of people that we connected with and requested interviews with, this will be the final one for now from River Run.
Have we talked about the...
So look for that next Wednesday. Again?
Have we talked about the after the filmmakers party on the podcast?
Yes, we did. We did talk about it on our River Run episode. We did talk about it.
Well, I had not alcoholic Guinness. It was terrible. So I was going to say it was a good party.
It tastes like watered down coffee. It was pretty bad.
Well, it was worse than that.
It was pretty bad. Yeah. So go for the real Guinness if you're ever going to try it again. It's kind of like drinking bitter bread, if that makes sense. It's very thick. It's got some substance to it. You know what I mean? It was apparently originally developed during a time when, I think during a famine, if I'm not mistaken, it was a way to get nutrients, to make nutrients go further, I think, or to almost provide a meal supplement, as it were.
The original Guinness?
That's what it was originally. That's my understanding of its origin story. And obviously it's been a popular beer in the centuries since then. Anyway, Nerd Hatters, thank you for listening to yet another episode of the podcast. If you haven't followed us or connected with us on social media yet, we are still on the Instagram at NerdHatPod. We're on Facebook, the Nerd Hat Podcast. We're on YouTube, the Nerd Hat Podcast. And of course, wherever you find us, wherever you listen to us, whether it's Apple Podcasts or Spotify or Amazon Music or any other myriad podcasting apps, or on our website. But particularly if you're on Spotify or Apple, please take a moment to give the podcast a review. You can also comment on specific episodes on Spotify. There's a few, I haven't done a poll in quite some time on Spotify. I don't know if I can still do that because we have a different hosting service now. But in some episodes from the past, we did have some questions and polls on individual ones. So if you're listening on Spotify, you can probably still vote on some of those. We are also on Patreon. I haven't done a whole lot with the Patreon yet, but as our patronage grows, we're going to be putting more bonus episodes up there, and hopefully eventually doing a live stream and things like that. So you can connect with us there as well.
Donate.
And you can join for free.
Patreon.
If you just want to be
we're enslaved by capitalism. I'm kidding. Go ahead. Sorry.
If you do just want to engage in the Nerd Hatter chatter, which is our chat function there, you can join for free. But if you want access to bonus episodes, voting rights, etc., you do have to go to one of the paid tiers there. But yeah, just look for the Nerd Hat Podcast on Patreon. We're there. All right. Well, until next week, I don't know what our next regular episode's going to be just yet. That's a little bit up in the air. But I do know that next week we will have the interview with the writer and directors of Mooncat. So look forward to that. Till next time, nerds.
Shalom Aleichem. Sayonara.
Live long and prosper. And this is actually very appropriate because apparently this is a Jewish symbol.
Oh, yeah, you're right. I forgot. Yes.
Live long and prosper.
I forgot what it means, but yes, you're right.
I forgot too. I know it's involved in a ceremony of some type, but I forgot its precise meaning. But I know it as live long and prosper. So, see you, Nerd Hatters.
See you.
Nerd Hat!